Chair.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to this meeting of Community Select Committee. I'm Councillor Rachel Quinn, Chair of this committee. I would like to inform everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet via the Council's website and will be capable of repeated viewing. The images and sound recording may be used for training within. In order to ensure that the meeting is managed effectively, can everyone please keep to the following guidelines for speaking? Councillors should only use the raise your hand or chat functions to request to speak. Only speak when invited to do so by the Chair. Please switch off your camera and microphone when not speaking, and remember to set your mobile phone to silent for the duration of the meeting. Any views expressed by any speaker in this meeting are the speaker's own, and they do not necessarily reflect the views of the Council. Please can councillors be aware that the webcast will continue to be streamed live 20 seconds after the close of the meeting. This is due to a time delay in transmitting live. I will now confirm the names of the remaining members of this committee. Councillor Benzer, Councillor Collins, Councillor Dupuy, Councillor Gardner, Councillor Gruby, Councillor Hacking, Councillor Hall, Councillor Inman, Councillor Lomax, Councillor Sizeland and Councillor Mackie. And then if we can turn to the agenda, apologies for absence. Rachel, you said Councillor Gruby. Do we have any more?
No, Chair, just Councillor Gruby.
And do we have a sub?
Nothing advised.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, Rachel. Yeah, Pam Reddy here to.
Oh, hi Pam. I did see you actually, and I should have realised. Thanks for that. Okay. Agenda item 2 to receive disclosures of interest on any matters before the committee, either disclosable pecuniary interests or other interests. If you do have, could you raise your hand? No, I can't see anything. Okay, thank you. Moving on. 3, no matters referred to the committee under the call-in procedure. Is that right, Rachel? Yeah?
Correct, none, Chair.
Okay. And then could we turn to the minutes of the previous meeting? Now, if there are any matters arising, I am going to refer to the minutes when we come to the work programme in terms of the Clearhold build and also the Environment Agency. Has anyone else got any issues they would like to raise about the minutes? No? If not, could I have a proposer that they're an accurate record and a seconder, please? If you just raise your hand, that's fine. Okay, Councillor Sizeland, thank you. And could I have a seconder, please?
Stuart Gardner and Sally are both.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Stuart. I'll take that. Sorry, I just couldn't see those. Thank you very much. Then if we could move, I'm going to move the work programme to the last item before we move to the exclusion of the press and public, because it may be the ideas for the work programme arise from actions or questions relating to the presentations. And also I want to come back to the minutes when we come to that. So agenda item 5, the select committee work programme is going to move to agenda item 10. No, it's not. It's going to be 9, but never mind. Don't worry about that. Right. OK, we've got 3 presentations which you have a chance to look at from Parkwood, from AES and from Alliance North. For our presenters, if we could, because we've got some new councillors, if you could just give a run through, a very, very brief run through of who you are and what you do before we start, just so councillors are aware. So we're going to go to Francois and Justin, I believe, okay, for the Parkwood presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just going to share my screen so we can get the presentation up. as well. You should be able to see that now, I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Great, thank you. So my name is Francois Smith. I'm the Regional Director for Parkwood Leisure, and obviously the High Peaks Leisure Contract and the Pavilion Gardens sits under my region as well. I've also got a colleague, Aidan Hall, who is the contract manager for the leisure contract. And I'll leave Justin to introduce himself when it comes to Pavilion Gardens. Sorry, that's right at the top, sorry. So just starting off with the Parkwood Leisure and the industry or the leisure market currently, you can see there's the stat accounts from all the operators currently in this country, and their stat accounts over the last year, 12 months, 18 months numbers. You can see it's not an easy market to work in, and it's not just the operators, the local trusts, leisure trusts that's working for councils and stuff are really struggling as well. There's still a lot of pressure on the leisure market in the UK. A little bit about our different route we're taking. So we created a new brand, My Healthy Way, which the objective of this is to tackle the health and equality of local communities, to embed it as a key part in the communities or authorities we work and operate in. And to deliver great experiences and make a measurable difference to the quality of life of our customers, and to deliver increased social value across our partnership with communities which we operate in. And one of the first things we've incorporated as part of that is the musculoskeletal hub projects, which include good booze and escape pain and arthritis action. So in this contract, we introduced that at Buxton Pool. It was a trial period. We got funding through with Sport England to introduce that around about 30 centres in our business. So what it involves, the Good Boost is a program. You get a tablet. So you come to the centre, you get a tablet, and there's an instructor to help through the process, but pretty much you've got a program that runs for you on the tablet, so you just follow that, and it's mainly in the pool, but it can be on dry site exercises as well. A part of that, we also recruited now a full-time nutritionist who is delivering online nutritional courses, and we just completed our first round of those courses, and we will roll out with that more and more, where our customers and members can and dial into those programs as well. So that's just a part of that My Healthy Way that we're going to go going forward. Net Promoter Score, I'm sure most of you will have seen this, but it's typically what it means. It's customers gives a score between 0 and 10. We really want to know what our customers are saying so we can deal with those comments and things. So typically how it works, 0 to 6 is the detractor, 7 and 8 is a passive, and we only get a better score if it's 9 and 10. So just give you a little example. So Parkwood Leisure as overall, so it's about 26% score. North and Midlands region, which we part of, is 33%, and then High Peaks at really high with 51%. And I'll go through later on Pacific Centres scores as well. So that's enough about Parkwood. So just to go through the Leisure contract for you. So a couple of highlights, or a few highlights here. So the local team is got about 20,000 worth of external funding secured. The Drowning Prevention Week was really popular when we done that. We introduced some SEND swimming lessons as well, again very popular. The life-saving invention at New Mills, where Andy's showing the photo of next door, next to it, we're getting a certificate of saving someone's life. The MSK hubs I talked about, the over 400 exercise by referral patients now, and the continued outreach activities we're doing in the community. So I'm going to show you a bit of data for you on how the contract's performing. The key income lines for us is obviously memberships, health and fitness memberships, and that includes also swimming memberships, and then swim schools. So these data is from January 23 till December 23. So you can see, so the health and fitness growth is 10% growth at Glossop, 7% at New Mills, and 17% at Buxton, which is some really good numbers there. And then swim school swim school, we got a 14% growth at Buxton, -5% in New Mills, and -7% at Glossop. Some of the new mills is a reason because of some of the maintenance issue we got around the pool, the air temperatures and stuff that we're dealing with. And Glossop the same. It's about drive. We need to drive that program a little bit better. It's gone backwards.
Francois, just hang on a sec. I think somebody's microphone is on because we have got a little bit of background noise, and we'll just check that we've got our microphones on.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So customer back, I talked about earlier about NPS and customer feedback. So there's some numbers that we're sharing on how many inquiries the centres is getting through our Trimo system. So our Trimo system tracks everything, and it also shows you the response times when we go back to customers. So New Mills 9 hours, Buxton 17 hours, Glossop 14 hours, and the leisure centre, Glossop Leisure Centre 13 hours. So typically our KPI or key performance indicator in the company is 24 hours. You need to go back to all 4 centres is below that. 37% of those inquiries are swimming lessons, and 17% of those inquiries are feedback, of which are only 2% are complaints. Glossop Leisure Centre NPS, we talked about earlier in the centre, the NPS is 57%, so third overall in the company rankings. New Mills sits at 55%, which is 4th overall, and Buxton sits at 49%, and Glossop Pool sits at 32%. So all 4 of those is above the region and above the company, or just around the region or above the region's scores, which is really good numbers. Social media is still a big area of promotions and stuff for us. We use it a lot, and the centres is really targeted to promote us. So there's some of the numbers that the centre growth pages or how the pages involved. It's not just Facebook; it's also Instagram. We use a lot as well. We used also to pay advertising as well through that systems. So which is working to helping driving our memberships. And there's typical things that you can see what we promote on that. Hopefully you all are following these centres anyway. Some maintenance and capital investment that happened over the last year. So at New Mills, we replaced or repaired the automatic doors. That was a problem for us. We across the contract bought some new hip thrust weight bars, which is a very popular exercise now, especially the younger groups. Decorating schedule obviously is in place and continuing with this year's schedule starting in February. Buxton, a swimming pool in the centre, we had showers in the wet changing room replaced, automatic doors been repaired, and again with the decorating schedule in place. And then in the Glossops, additional spin bikes obtained for Glossop Leisure Centre, probably still our most popular class there. Electric radiators installed at Glossop Leisure Centre, new automatic door at Glossop Leisure Centre. Literally everyone is getting a new door. 10k of boiler repairs at Glossop Swimming Pool. And again, same with a hip thrust and a decorating schedule in place there as well. Of course, we can't say without talking a little bit about energy management. It's still, while the energy prices come down, it is still very much a lot higher than what it was in 2019. So here's some comparables to 2022 for the year. So New Mills, gas is increased by 5%, but Buxton, Glossop and Glossop Swimming Pool all came down quite big numbers. Electric wise, the New Mills slightly up, Buxton slightly up, Glossop quite a bit up, and then Glossop Swimming Pool came down on those as well. The energy management has been really interesting over the last 12 months because it's been a lot wetter. Not necessarily colder, but we're using different electric mechanism for the centres against the previous year. Still a key focus for us on driving these numbers down. The Move More strategy that we work with the authority and especially with Rob and his team. Lots happening around that with the team locally. So limiting an illness and disability. Probably talked about the launch of the MHA's hubs at Buxton has been a key bit. Menopause workshops and classes we introduced. Older people, we still got a number of Steps to Health programs in place with different sporting activities in the centres. For the lower income groups, the HAF program during the summer and winter months, school holidays, it's been pretty popular. Open up the facilities to those in need for warmer space during the winter months. Provided free activities for the place-based work in local parks and walking and movement festivals. For the younger group, events throughout the year will teach children about the healthy, happy choices around nutrition and exercise. We talked about the Sense swimming funding, and we got some funding to deliver some of those programs as well. I mentioned the Drowning Prevention Week. Look, I don't have to explain to you how important it is for the Drowning Prevention Week, but pretty much we there's some photos of the team and the equipment and stuff they're taking out to the schools. We visited 21 local schools in the High Peak to promote the Drowning Prevention Week, which we're really proud of. So going forward, working with the Borough Council to deliver the Move More High Peak strategy, I just mentioned, continue to work on the utility and carbon reduction main focus, and part of that is obviously the PSD's carbonation scheme at Buxton Swimming Pool that's now started. Work with the borough with delivering the facility improvements and new mills that hopefully will start in spring 2024, and then obviously, as we all know, this is the last part of our contract this year, so we're working with Rob and his team on handing back the contract to the authority. I don't know if you want to do the leisure questions now before Justin starts, but just let me know, Chair.
Yes, I think that would be appropriate. So if we have questions on the leisure section of this, could you raise your hands? Councillor Hall.
Thanks very much. I was particularly interested in the MSK hub, and you mentioned that it was a pilot at Buxton, and also later in the presentation referred to it as being a launch. I went onto the website to have a look to find a bit more detail about it, and the website at the moment has no information on the hub at Buxton. So there's no dates, times, prices, or referral mechanisms. What's your date for launching that? And are you able to give us a little indication of whether it will be similar to your referral for exercise initiatives, or whether it's a self-referral?
So we launched it launched last September. So it's been running for a good three months already. So it's a good point. If you raise it on the website, we will definitely need to get it on there. So yeah, we will have a look at that to get it on the programs and stuff. Aidan, you want to jump in just on the specific times and dates that we're doing it at Buxton?
It's just like a self-referral that you agree a meeting with one of the instructors at the site, and then set up a time with them, and then they will talk you through the process. And then, as Francois alluded to before, it's up to you then to take the tablet and then utilise that within the swimming pool, and then get follow-up meetings with a member of the fitness team just to track progress and things. So that's how it's working at the moment.
Okay.
There've been reasonable numbers so far, but the expectation is that we will get bigger numbers moving forward, because overall the exercise by referral program has expanded significantly this year. We expect this to be part of that as well. So
yeah, the website certainly needs attention, but I think you're also missing an opportunity with referral, since you've already got the thing set up with either CVS or doctors for exercise. And I speak with personal interest here, because I'm going through a whole battery of tests for a difficulty with my hip, and none of the specialists that I've been through every kind of different clinic has ever mentioned the hub, and I think there'd be lots of people in that same position who would be very interested in it, but just know nothing about it.
Yeah, look, this has been a trial for us, and there's when the trial originally came out, and with our supports team, we created a list of local organisations and doctors and surgeries and all of that, and we send them all information and stuff. And some we got some really good success, and some we haven't. But there's still a lot to do. There's still a lot of opportunity with us, and we're learning across the business. We've got 30 sites where we're doing it, so we're learning from all these sites and gathering all of that feedback. We're feeding it back to Sport England and see where we can do it better, what we can learn. And when it's not on the website, that's a problem that we need to promote better. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I am going to bring Councillor Sizeland in, but can I just ask a question, because I also have quite a big interest in this as well. Are the people who ask for help through the hub, do they tend to be members? Because you said that when they approach a member of staff who's been trained and get a tablet there, that might be easier if you're a member than if you're just someone who needs some help.
Yeah, no, it's open for both. It's members and non-members can use it, so it's not particularly just for members. It's for both. Again, as part of this trial we're doing, is we're looking at what is the best option. Some are part of the trial in the company. We've included in a membership, and some it's just a one-off. People pay for it as a casual basis on paying for it as well. So we're currently looking at what the best way that's going forward. Learning from what we've done so far over the last 3-4 months.
Okay, do you have any data in terms of who the people who've used the hub have been?
Yeah, we will have the data. Yes, yeah.
And could you send that to us, provide us with that?
Yeah, we can share the numbers and stuff. Obviously, we can't share the personal data, but the numbers and stuff. Yeah. Well, we can share that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, Kath. Would you like to come in now? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. I've got my mobile physio head on here. I'm chair of that group, and I didn't know anything about this. So I think it's quite an interesting and good thing to do, but obviously more people need to know about it. But also I saw the people that use a tablet now. There's quite a few people not able to do that. How do you go on then?
So the tablet is at the centre. So we provide the tablets to the customers, and there's a member of staff that can support them, talk them through how to use the tablets and stuff. And then after that, it's pretty straightforward to use it, to be honest. But yeah, there's a member of staff that support the customers on using the tablet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kath. Madeline, your hand is still up. Are you meaning to take it down?
Yeah, sorry, apologies.
Okay, all right. Any more questions on this issue? Francois, can I just come in with a few? I can't help noticing the membership for fitness and swimming at Buxton is considerably lower than Glossop, which is possibly understandable, and lower than New Mills. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I think the main reason is obviously is the facilities you got. So in Buxton, we got a small gym and a small studio. So that is probably the biggest problem we have at Buxton. So group exercise in the studios is such a popular activity at the moment, and we got a small studio at Buxton, so that's always a problem. So the centre's growth gets impacted by the facilities as it has, basically. And obviously local catchment and people living and how many people live and stuff, that always has an impact. But the biggest thing for me is the facilities we operate.
Because I was going to ask as well, and I know I'm being a bit cheeky, and I know, Chris, you're waiting as well for the question. When is the menopause support?
Oh, Aidan, can you help me out there, please?
Well, first we've got to get the staff trained up. It's gone pretty well at Glossop. So Sarah Johnson, who's our sports development manager, that's something that we trial at a site first, see how that goes, and then we just need to get the training sorted out for the staff. And then we're working with Lauren, who's the fitness manager at Buxton, to look at these options for that site. So yeah, and generally it's around getting the right training for the staff so that they can engage properly with the people involved. So as I said, it's gone well at Glossop, and obviously if we do well at one site, we do look to try and roll that out elsewhere. So that's certainly part of the plan moving forward.
Okay. And also what I was going to ask, in terms of the facilities at Buxton, that obviously has an impact for what can be offered to young people. Do you have any plans, any ideas about how what our offer for young people in Buxton can be improved?
So the one thing that has changed since COVID is the young people coming to the gym, which is, if you go to the gym between 3:30 and 5:30 at the moment, and any gym, to be fair, it's really popular with young people, and it's probably linked to social media, TikTok and Instagram, where people photos and stuff and how they train. There's so much information for them available now to use in the gym. So that's one area that we're really developing. Look, that causes problems with a lot of them coming in at the same times and groups and stuff, but that's fast to manage and with them. So that's one area we do. The other area we trying to get into is to provide them group exercise classes. We haven't nailed that anywhere as yet, but that's an idea. We have to do some group exercise with them because they are popular and they're coming in groups as for something for them to do. And obviously the swimming program, we keep on delivering different inflatables and stuff that we try to bring into the swimming pool and stuff for them to use as well, and making that a little bit more fun than just swimming up and down and stuff. But yeah, it is because of the lack of sports hall facilities at Buxton isn't always a trick. We obviously use Pavilion Gardens with delivering some of the big inflatables and stuff that's coming that Justin will explain later at Pavilion Gardens. That helps us. But yeah, facilities is tricky for us at Buxton.
Okay. I'm just going to ask as well, and I'm not going to ask you to say now, but would it also be possible for you to share data in terms of numbers of people reached through Move More and the Move More strategy?
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, we got all that data, yeah. Okay,
that's great. Now can I bring in, by the way, your screen is still up, but I'm taking it that's because we've got the rest of the presentation. Is that right?
Oh, sorry, I stopped staring.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was just wondering if that was okay. Can I bring in Councillor Payne? Chris.
Thanks, Rachel. I've got two questions. The first one is about the staff. So it's whether or not you could tell me what percentage of the staff or numbers of staff are under 21 and on the lower minimum wage. And then the second question is what the level of recycling is in the centres.
Okay, so under 21, I won't be able to give you a number off the top of my head. Aidan, you might be able to jump in, but I doubt it. But there will be a high percentage on under 21, and yes, they will be on the minimum wage for sure. But we can again share that data. It's not a problem. Again, I won't know the percentage on recycling. So we do provide Rob and his team a report on all the recycling. We do a cost of contract, and that includes Pavilion Gardens on recycling. Again, we can share that. That's not a problem.
So that'd be great if you could come back. Yeah. I'd like to know the numbers of people under 21 because I'm aware that up front they have to pay for their own training. And then the second.
Sorry, training in which way?
So in order to become a lifeguard, you have to do a training course.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So you have to pay for your own training.
That's correct.
Before you're offered a job, and then you start on £7.49 an hour. So yeah, I'd just like to know the numbers because it has an impact on how things go forwards. On the second bit, a personal observation is I use the leisure centre in Buxton. I'm not aware of any recycling going on, frankly. I'd like to know how much is going on in the public areas and how much is going on in the staff areas.
Yeah, look, we won't be able to break that down because we pay our waste supply to do the recycling. We go from there. They do the recycling for us.
Okay, how about a compromise that you provide us some photos of the actual recycling areas or the bins and where they are?
Yeah, can do.
That'd be great. I'd just like to see some evidence that it's actually happening and that the staff have instruction to use the recycling facilities, as well as there being recycling bins in the public areas. And the same goes for the gardens as well.
Okay, no problem.
Can I just interject here just on a couple of points? In relation to the lifeguard training, we do enter into an agreement with people where we will pay for the training, subject to them staying with us for a certain number of months. So that's certainly happened at Glossop Pool and has happened at New Mills as well. And in terms of the recycling within the centres, we tend to use clear and bin liners for mixed recycling, and then we use black bin liners for general recycling. So we have two bins outside, one's general waste, one's mixed recycling. So it's in our interest to make sure that...
Right, sorry. I have to come back on this. So as a user, I see no evidence of what you've just said.
This is at Buxton.
No, I am a user at Buxton, and I see no evidence of what you just said.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take that back.
On the other point, a constituent has raised it with me that they had to pay for their own training. I will go back to them and ask, but they didn't give me any indication that they entered into an agreement to get their training paid back if they stayed there for a period of time. But I will go back and check that.
It may well have been that they didn't have that initial conversation with them. I mean, often it's about initial engagement with the centre manager and the staff. So, but typically we will enter into an agreement with staff, but the same goes just when we teach training as well.
And just so you know why I'm interested is because if your parents can afford to pay for the training, it sort of allows you to do it. And if you're not in a position that your parents can afford to pay for the training, it sort of precludes you from the market. Although personally, I think that the wage structure's low, but that's the general economy. Okay, but it's the fact you have to pay up front, and if you don't have the money, you really can't enter the market. That's basically my concern.
Yeah, in IB, we always on the recruitment for swim teachers and lifeguards, and like I didn't say, in most places, I'm sure that we don't do 100% of it because we can't, because there's a big cost for us for it. But if they are committed to work for a certain amount of hours for a certain amount of time, then we will definitely look into covering our cost as part of the training we deliver.
Okay, thank you. Can I just ask, is recruitment difficult in terms of lifeguards?
Look, it came out of COVID. It was really difficult. It was a problem. It's been a lot better over the last year. We typically have our pinch points around September, October time when we lose our students who goes to university. So typically we will have them from between 16 and 18, and then when they move on, then we need to do a retraining and a re-recruiting process. Swim teachers always a struggle. Because a course is quite a bit of to do the training. It's 2 weeks, and then you need to do the courses on its own is £1,000 to do the course. So hence we really encourage people to stay for a period of time, commit some hours with us, and then we will work with them to paying that cost. We're also delivering our own tutors who are delivering those costs. We get agreement with swimming, but it still costs us £1,000 to get someone qualified as a swim teacher. So swim teachers is the area we can always do with more.
Okay, I've just asked us in terms of the opening hours, certainly at Buxton Pool. I have asked in the past, and I've been told it's that we haven't got the lifeguards available, and we could do with some more swimming hours, and so possibly looking at recruitment and more lifeguarding staff might help.
News to me, Chair. The opening hours are set as per the contract. But I'm happy to speak to locally with the centre manager.
Yeah,
and we can
that's fine.
look into
Yeah, Rachel, what specifically in terms of time in the morning have you asked
It's
about?
not morning, it's evening, and at weekends because the closure is pretty early, and I really do struggle to find an evening because obviously we have meetings as well, so it is really difficult. I end up at shock horror going to the palace because you can swim until 10 o'clock at night, and it's too difficult to actually fit work and etc. around swimming at the pool, so it would be useful, but that's a long-term thing and it is something for the future, so I won't waste time now. I'm going to bring Jean in. Jean.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, as Chris mentioned, the recycling, I would be interested in seeing some more evidence of that as well, since that comes under me on the executive. The other thing is, you were kind enough to take on an international exchange sort of student. She should be with you now. I'm just wondering how she's getting on at Buxton.
Yes, I met her this morning. Yeah, she's very nice person. Yeah, seems to be enjoying her time at the site. Has mixed in very well. Her English is outstanding, certainly better than my German. So yeah, she seems to be really enjoying herself. So yeah, good to see.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jean. Do we have any more questions? I got someone's hands just gone up. No, I can't see where a hand is. Jean, is that just yours? Yeah. Okay. Can we move on to the Pavilion Gardens section of the presentation? Is that Justin or is that you, Francois?
It will be Justin that will do. Justin, will you present your screen?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Boyle, Assistant Regional Director. So just bear with me while I load my screen up. So. Hopefully you can bear with me. Hopefully everyone can see my screen.
No,
Not
yet.
Could bear with me.
It's right top, Justin, just next to leave.
Hopefully.
There you go. Yeah.
Right, I might just load up for you. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that.
Well, I can, yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Boyle, I'm Assistant Regional Director, and I work with Francois in the region, and part of my remit is to oversee Pavilion Gardens. So in terms of tonight, I'll give you a bit of a reflection on 23 and also looking forward to 2024. Just in terms of last year, I think it was a fairly successful year from our point of view in terms of, we hosted a number of big events, including the Buxton International Festival, the Fringe Festival, and obviously the Gilbert and Sullivan return last year. They're big events for Buxton, they're big events for Pavilion Gardens. They're very complex events, involve a lot of planning, a lot of stakeholders, and a lot of good partnership work goes on to deliver these sort of successful events. Not only does it benefit us bringing footfall into the building, but obviously local hoteliers and a whole range of other local services benefit from all the tourism coming into Buxton. We're working closely with a whole range of stakeholder groups, sharing best practice, sharing events. We use Vision Buxton a lot, newsletters to get information out, and we carry on to sort of strengthen those relationships when we're working together. We've also had Buxton Brewery take up residence in the retail area last year. They had a fairly successful year. They're looking to develop their services further. We had a meeting with them in December, so they're looking to extend some of their opening hours, improve some of the retail offer, and also introduce a sort of Buxton Brewery draft ale into Pavilion Gardens. So it's quite a nice touch. We've worked with Buxton Spa Aromatics, who've taken up residence at the end of the conservatory. Now the conservatory works have finished, and the beauty of that, it helps draw people into that end of the building, and then it draws them through the conservatory and provides footfall for us into a number of areas. And both partners are working really well with us and adding to the experience at site. We've built on a whole range of events throughout the year, some established events we've had for a number of years, but also continue to develop a whole range of new events, which I'll touch on in a moment. And then we've maintained the Traveller's Choice venue, awarded to venues who consistently earn good reviews from travellers and ranked in the top 10 properties on TripAdvisor. Also, I think we're ranked fourth at the moment on TripAdvisor in Buxton. So I think that's testament to all the good work staff do at site. It's a complex site, and the staff are very enthusiastic about delivering a range of services to not just the local community, but we get a lot of visitors and tourists to Buxton, which is a great benefit, I think, to everyone. We've worked hard and made a lot of investment on improving the website. It flows a lot better now. It has a lot more information, and I think it's a good improvement from where we were before. We also have invested in bringing in a new booking system called FareHarbor. Now, what that does, it creates a better experience from a customer when they're looking at Pavilion Gardens, what events are, what dates are, and they can book and pay online. So from a front of house perspective, it works a lot better for the customer, but also the back of house admin, it helps us in managing those systems. So the two have complemented each other very well. And we appointed a drone company to come in and do a fly through. They zoned into Pavilion Gardens. I'm sure some of you have seen it on the website, through the actual Pavilion Gardens to show what the offer is, and then onto the park. So, that was a good USP in terms of adding that onto the website. Just in terms of events, the events help weatherproof the facility. It's a difficult operation. The weather we're having at the moment is all over the place. So to try and weatherproof our day-to-day trade, the development of events has helped in usage and obviously driving some of the commercial aspects. We've done a lot of work on weddings, having open days, and we're starting to get good traction on that, and also get lots of good feedback on the weddings that have been delivered. We've introduced a whole range of new events such as 40 Towers. They've gone down really well. We've sold out on those. And then just touching on some of the children's activities, as mentioned earlier, we're doing the holiday trails, which has proven popular, and also the inflatable sessions in the Octagon. It's a good use of that area in the half-term and holiday periods for school children. It's a good wet weather and fairly cost-effective activity for parents and families, particularly when affordability is quite difficult with the cost of living crisis. And Chris Bramwell, who we work with quite closely, he's invested in new inflatables last year to freshen the offer. We've held a whole range of different party nights and Christmas events. The Christmas party event had over 300 revellers come along. And then the Young Farmers, we actually had over 900 in the end. It's one of our biggest events on the calendar, and it was a very successful event, very busy, and the busiest it's been probably for about 3 or 4 years. So, we had lots of feedback on a whole range of activities at site that's gone down really well. And then Breakfast with Santa, that's a new event we introduced last year, and that we sold out all the Breakfast with Santas. And the beauty of FareHarbor, as soon as you've filled up one activity session, you can very quickly mobilise and advertise a new session subject to the resources back of house. We've been working closely with the authority on the temporary heating situation at Pavilion Gardens. As you can imagine, it's quite a complex building. It's not very energy efficient. It's quite old in parts, and working closely with colleagues, both in the authority and Alliance North, on coming up with a solution for this year, which I'll touch on a bit later. As some of you may be aware, had the conservatory works, which are quite intrusive, finished early last year, and the back end of the refurbishment works. And those works from an outset and from a visitor's point of view do give that impression the facility might be closed, or it might be noisy or dirty or dust, shall we say. So from that perspective, not having scaffolding up all over the place, I think it's helped in terms of 2023 usage improvements. Just the slide here just gives you a flavour of some of the events from a visual perspective and how it looks on FareHarbor. It's very easy to use. We cater for all ages, from young or old. A lot of events for the local community, but also we bring a lot of tourists into Buxton. The H&H Classic Car Auction held in November. That was their 30th anniversary, and they had over 150, fantastic cars. It was a really busy event. We were blessed with the weather. It actually didn't rain for 2 days, so it was a very busy site activity, both the pre-auction and the actual auction. And again, it helped benefit a lot of local hotels. I know a lot of the H&H organisation team actually stayed at the Palace Hotel, 1 or 2 others locally. So they're good events to help bolster activity in the town as well. The Transition Buxton event, which was a climate event for school children, that was actually really well run. We had lots of good feedback. Had around 500 school children attend, learning about different things. So those sort of things do had a lot of diversity. What's going on in the Octagon, which is a great events venue, but also Pavilion Gardens per se. Just in terms of uses, I think since we took the contract on, no year's actually ever been the same. In 2019, those who remember, it was actually the wettest summer on record at that time. We had the incident with the reservoir, which impacted on tourism in August. Then, unfortunately, we were hit with COVID through 2021. And then throughout the period, we've actually had major refurbishment works ongoing for almost 7 years. So 2023 is actually the first year without any sort of real intrusive refurbishment works. And I think it's fair to be said that's been reflected in the usage, which is positive, and particularly going into 2023. I think when you consider also July to December was the wettest period on record as well, whilst that's great for getting people into Pavilion Gardens when they're out, actually getting them set foot out of their homes when it's raining heavily is quite a challenge and impacts on usage, of course. Just in terms of social media, when we took the contract on, we had over 6,000 followers. We're now pushing close to 22,000. And social media, as Francois sort of touched on his presentation, it's a great vehicle for promoting activities, awareness of what's going on. We get lots of good engagement and traction from users on social media. And in terms of reach, we can get anything from a reach of 10,000 up to 100,000 people viewing things. It tends to be the family activities that are very popular. And interestingly, some of the stats we've done in terms of analytics, it tends to be a higher following of ladies who tend to be probably more organised than us gents in terms of activities for families and children and looking what they can do during half-term periods. So, from that perspective, it's worked really well. And we've had a bit of fun with some of the activities on social media. On the flip side of that, we use Google reviews as well. Pavilion Gardens has had around just over 6,800 reviews. It's averaging about 4.5 out of 5, which is very good, and we get a lot of 5 and 4 grades in terms of the reviews. So from that perspective, that's a good testament again to a lot of the activity and the teamwork going on at site. Just thought it useful to share with members some of the feedback. I know you read in your own time, but in essence, we get lots of good feedback on weddings, lots of good feedback on events. A lot of it's by email, some of it's by letter, and it's good to get that feedback. Often customers will feedback on other constructive matters, but it's a lot nicer, and often it's good to get this feedback and share it with the team, so which we do. And I think it's testament to the hard work and the commitment of the team at site and the complexities of running the events and the operations with also day to day. Because if you can imagine, on a Friday night we can have one event, Saturday daytime another, Saturday evening another in the Octagon, and then Sunday again. That transfer of activities is quite complex and challenging at times to coordinate and get right. So, but all testament to the hard work of the team. Just on to sort of this year, we're going to carry on working with the online bookings and payment system to improve the events and the customer experience. That is helping with traction on getting more bookings, which is great to see. The events diary for 2024 is looking really positive. We've built on a number of events over the last 2 years, and we're working on introducing new events. So, for example, some of you may be seeing we've got the Valentine's event next month, and we're doing a whole range of other activities. And most of our events well established are on the system already right up to the end of the year, and we'll carry on adding and complementing those as we go forwards. We've worked on enhancing the menus with Ed, who's the head chef there. He's done a great job in improving some of the quality aspects of food presentation, also taste. We're now linking that up better in terms of themed events throughout the year. As some of you are aware, when we took the contract, we did a lot of investment in the tea room and pavilion kitchen. Now with the other side of all the COVID and the cost of living and utility crisis, etc., we're starting to see good growth in those areas. The tea rooms is your more exclusive type experience, which is growing in terms of bookings, which is great to see. And pavilion kitchens is your more day-to-day grab and go sort of family offer. So we're looking to develop them slightly further this year. We're carrying on to have ongoing discussions with a whole range of stakeholders. I've been in discussions with Michael about the Buxton International Festival this week, ready for this year. So there's lots going on behind the scenes. January is very much our planning period, ready for hopefully a successful year and complement. Hopefully we won't have as bad weather year as we've had in 2023. And we're carrying on developing those partnership arrangements with Buxton and the Aromatics group as well. For some of you may recall, Paul Kelso was the contract manager when presented last year. Sadly, Paul left us at the back end of last year. He's moved on to pastures new. We've had Kirsty Edwards, who's the Rufford contracts Country Park contracts manager, who's been supporting the team during the period of recruitment. And please say Tom starts with us next week, and I'll introduce him to authority colleagues over the forthcoming weeks. And then finally, I suppose the big one for this year in terms of capital, we're working closely with the authority and Alliance North on the new heating system. We had our first kick-off meeting a few weeks ago. Surveys are being done to help make the building be more energy efficient, but also, as you can imagine, it's a difficult building to heat. Buxton's renowned for being colder in the winter periods, and it will just improve that experience for customers when they're sitting in. It's a bit warmer. The other beauty of the new system will help us control zoning of the areas, so we'll be able to have different activities in different areas and actually be able to have the heating at the right temperature. At the moment, it can very much be hit and miss depending on what area you're in. So hopefully you've all found that useful, and thank you for listening, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, can you raise your hand if you've got any questions, please? Okay, Kath.
Yeah, that mainstay is very positive. The only downside is when you use the upstairs ladies' loos, half the sinks don't work. At least half the sinks don't work. There's no water coming out the tap or anything like that. And something could do with being done about the drains, because there's often a rather unpleasant odour when you go in.
Okay, yeah,
thank you.
Thanks for that. I think in terms of the taps, that's fine. Leave that with us. I'm actually there tomorrow, so we'll check those. In terms of the drains, it might be a little bit more complicated. I know some of the drains are quite dated and old. We can get those inspected, and sometimes when the traps dry out in a drain, it does give off a slightly pungent smell, but we can get those looked into, not a problem. So thanks for raising those. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Madeline.
Thanks very much. First, just to say, I think the leisure concessions with Bramwell's, particularly in the Octagon, are absolutely inspired. It's a splendid thing. Well, one really small question, and then something about the other concessions. I was just curious as to why Park would go for Veolia for waste collection rather than AES, but it's just a curiosity. The bigger thing that I wanted to ask about was the outside concession, the boating concession, which there's a sort of tripartite group which have an interest in the boating pool. Clearly, it's AES with responsibility for the clarity of the water. It's high peak for any engineering solutions, but it's Parkwood because you have the contract with the concession for use of it. And I wondered if the three groups were clearly, we've got all three of you here today working on communications for when and if Weed stops the boats, Buxton's very own stops the boats in the summer. It's bound to happen again. And whether there's any joint activity that could improve water quality.
I think if I was to point in terms of Veolia, we negotiate, our commercial team negotiate commercial contracts on a rolling basis. It could be 2 to 3 years. They go out to tender and review, and I think it comes down to a number of things. It will come down to what they can offer. Obviously, sustainability and recycling has been touched on earlier. That's built into their contracts, and we can provide the information. I haven't got it to hand tonight, but we have provided that before for Pavilion Gardens based on what Veolia provide us. So happy to do that. In terms of the points around the boating lake, it's actually Chris Bramwell who operates that in the summer. I think when the weather's been kind, he's actually done a very good job, and he's actually kept it open longer. He has the ability to do that as well quite easily. In terms of the water quality, I think some of the challenges you have is you have a lot of water run off the hills from farmers, etc., where they're putting various fertilizers in. That comes in. There was a lot of weed this summer. part of that problem is with hotter summers, lakes are getting warmer. If you look at the Lake District this year, Lake Windermere, they've got up to about 23 degrees. There's some open water lakes near where we operate les centres. They've got up to 28 degrees. Unfortunately, that kills a lot of the nitrogen in the water, and it results in algae and weed growth. So it's not an easy one to solve, but we obviously feed back. I know Paul last year during the when we had a lot of weed growth, it was fed back to partners, and I know partners looked into what can and can't be done. But I think it's I don't think there's a silver bullet to solving the problem, but I think clearing of the area, clearing probably the sluice areas may help, but ultimately I think it comes down to what's being pumped in further up through the streams. We noticed that when the change of the colours of the streams, when you have flood water as well. So, but no, we're happy to talk to partners on what possible solutions there are. So
that's helpful. I mean, we're very familiar with science that you've outlined there. There are remediation measures, but they need to be taken in time. But a key thing that we got very badly wrong this summer was the communication, so that we had public outrage, and it was basically scattergun at everybody. We have to get the communication right this coming summer.
Yeah, I think in terms of, and I'll take on board your point, I think it was one of their employees probably fed out the wrong information. We did talk to Chris about that and said, look, we need to have a joined up approach on that. So yeah, no point taken on board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Madeline. I think there does need to be some talking about that, but perhaps there could be an information digest for councillors explaining what the strategy is and what the communication strategy is as well. If that would be okay. I know it will take some time and some thinking. Right, Jenny.
Hi. Yeah, first of all, I'd just like to say that I totally agree about the inflatables. I think that's a brilliant use of the space for children and families when the weather's terrible. My second is a question, because the last time I ate at the Pavilion Kitchen, it was all single-use cutlery and cups. Is that still the case? I was really disappointed to see that. And if it is still the case, have you sort of considered the impact that has on the environment and considered other options?
Yeah, probably if I give you a bit of background to our single-use plastics journey, and I know I've discussed this with some members on this group and some other presentations we've done. Into that, part would have actually been quite a journey. We did a lot of work pre-COVID. Unfortunately, COVID sort of blew a lot of the work out of the water. Since that, we have reintroduced a lot of stuff. So, for example, we've removed obviously all of our plastics, gone to recycling cans, because cans are a lot easier to recycle, better for the environment. We have removed a lot of, we've removed plastic straws, we've gone to paper straws. We have removed plastics to wooden stirrers as well. We've gone away from sachets to obviously bottles, and also milk sachets to milk jugs. There is a lot of work done behind the scenes. In terms of things like cups, we went away from plastic cups to PLA, which is polylactic acid, to 100% recyclable, and we're now promoting, you may have seen, we're promoting what's called the Cup Crusade, which is trying to get people to use their own recyclable cups, as well as we've gone back to promoting China as well, trying to use that more, partly because obviously the recycling issues, but also the fact consumables in general have gone, the costs have gone through the roof. And what we're trying to do is minimise having to pass some of those costs on to customers as well. So there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, but I take on board your comments, and funny enough, I'm there tomorrow, so we'll do a bit of a recce on that. But Matt Deeth, who's our group catering director, he does a lot of work on particularly in catering, because that's where you tend to have a lot more single-use plastics, we say, or did have. He's done a lot of work with suppliers, and for example, with our corporate suppliers, part of their new contracts, when we go out to tender, they have to meet criteria in terms of single-use plastics, not providing that. One of the problems you have is a lot of the single-use is driven by supermarkets as well. Now they're a good power, because as soon as the supermarkets start with suppliers pushing them on recyclables and not using single-use plastic, that flows through the market. But Matt's done a lot of work, and will continue to do a lot of work on pushing suppliers on getting things right going forwards. So,
thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Pam.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on the heating in the tea rooms. I know that there's plans to rectify that, but local residents are saying it makes them reluctant to stay there for a while, just to maybe a quick coffee or even to move on. So do you have timescales for when we could see a real improvement in the heating arrangements for there?
Yeah, it's not actually a project we're leading on, but we're working with Alliance for North and colleagues from the authorities. Sorry, there's a bit of background. In terms of that, we had our first meeting a few weeks ago. We have Alliance North doing site surveys to basically come up with options and solutions. One of the challenges you have there, you've got 3 boiler rooms. You've got one in the Oxford, one in the old plant, and one in feeding the conservatory. And it's actually trying to also look at, can we consolidate those as well in a better area? But the problem we have is the heating infrastructure. So in terms of timeline, I don't want to put a date on it, but I believe it will be definitely done at some point this summer. The difficulty we have is trying to time those major works during one of our busiest times. So once the surveys have been done, that's been fed back to colleagues, we can then sit down and work out what the time frame will be. But the ideal scenario is to have it in before this winter. So.
Thank you. I would like to say as well that they are very complimentary about the staff that are working in the tea rooms.
Oh, well, thank you for the feedback. I'll pass that over to them tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pam. Joanna.
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments on sustainability. One is, if you are looking at the toilets, some of the systems leak quite a lot, so that's a huge waste of clean water. And the other is just a comment about wooden cutlery, which of course is single use, and I don't know what its impact is vis-a-vis plastic, but it's still got pretty high impact cutting down trees to make something that is used for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think in terms of toilets, that's fine. We can look at that. The toilets, I think, refurbished quite a few years ago. We have done some redecoration works in there in the past few weeks, and we are doing some remedial works to some of the systems. But I note on board the leaks. In terms of recyclable products, I think it just depends what's on the market. You know, cutlery we can do, but then you have the issue of cleaning those through dishwashers and the increase in energy use, etc. So it's a difficult balance, but I think wooden stirrers and those sort of items are a far better replacement than single-use plastic. So, but I'll take on board your comment and we'll feed that through to Matt in negotiations.
Okay, thanks, Joanna. Do we have any other questions? No, can I just ask, in terms of the development of the tea room, pavilion, kitchen, are there any proposals for later opening hours or earlier opening hours? Seems to be my theme, but there do seem to be sections that aren't used at certain times.
Yeah, in terms of the opening times, we actually have phased opening times throughout the year. So obviously January is a quieter month. It's our shortest opening period as well, because obviously you've got the daylight hours, it's starting to get lighter, which is great. And as we go through the year, we do start to extend the opening times up. You do tend to see a bit of a drop off, particularly in term time, at certain periods of the week. And the other thing is, depending on what events we got in as well. One thing we are exploring this year with Buxton Brewery, as I mentioned earlier, we are extending their opening times on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because that fits in with some of the event programs that we have in on a Friday and Saturday and Thursday, fits quite neatly. So we are looking to extend that. That will improve some of the offer within the facilities. But all in all, as we go through the year, the opening times do extend. So.
Sorry, I was just talking. I just said thank you, but my mic wasn't on. Do we have any further questions or issues from anyone? Yeah, can I also just ask a question as well? In terms of staffing, I don't suppose you've got a breakdown roughly of full-time, part-time staff.
Yeah, we have a breakdown. The full-time staff is fairly stable throughout the year. The one thing you've got to bear in mind, Pavilion Gate is very seasonal. So this time of year, we don't have many casuals, but as we go into the season, Easter, and particularly in the summer, we have a lot more casual staff taking the books as well, and a lot more part-time books just to service the demands as well. And to give you an example, for example, the Young Farmers Market, we had over 30 staff operating and running the bar. So it gives you a flavour of the fit and stretch of staffing throughout the year, depending on what events are going. But yeah, we're happy to provide that. So.
Okay. And training and development?
Yeah, we do a range of training. Obviously, the one thing in the catering sector, because of Brexit primarily, a lot of skilled labour was lost back to Europe. It's been a challenge, I think, for every operator, restaurants, bars, you've probably seen it in the press, to retain skilled chefs and also staff in catering. It's very competitive. Picking up on some of the points earlier in the call, we actually pay slightly more than national minimum. One of the reasons is because we've got local competition paying, £10 an hour for bar staff. It's a bit like some of our events over Christmas. We're paying staff up to £11-12 just to try and retain them. They're working later hours, but equally we're competing with everyone else in Buxton on sort of catering hospitality staff.
Okay, thank you. That's really interesting. So hopefully next time you feedback to us, you'll be able to pick up on issues like the heating, the recycling, etc. So that will be really useful. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now can we move on to the presentation from AES? We have got the slides, so you might need to swap over, and we should have Kevin. We've got Kevin and Martin and Jade.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Could you just give a brief summary of who you are for new councillors as well, please?
Yeah, happy to do that. I'm happy to, as Kevin Melling, I'm the Managing Director of AES. I've got Jane Thomason, who's the Deputy Managing Director, and I've got Martin Solis, who's the General Business Manager for AES and oversees both the High Peak and the Staffordshire Moorlands regions as well. Importantly, just for new members, AES is your company. It's wholly owned by yourself, Staffordshire Moorlands, and another wholly owned company called Answer Environmental Services, delivering services within your areas. That cover waste collection, environmental operations, and other minor bits and bats as well, included in there. We have a series of slides to show you that are now on your screen. The first half is very much about how we've performed, both operationally and finance, and how we've performed financially over the last financial year. So that would be 22-23. And then the latter part of the presentation is always about looking ahead and looking at some of the exciting projects that, and challenging projects that we're hoping to deliver in the future. And between the three of us, we will then take part in presenting these slides and, importantly, at the very end, take any questions that you may have for us. So I'll just hand over to Jane, who can now take us through the reflections.
I think you mute, Jane.
Sorry about that, always do it. I'm going to have a look at the sort of highlights over the last year, the notable activities and projects that we have delivered. I'm glad to say that the remaining light fleet vehicles, the complete replacement programme has now been concluded. They were delivered in 2020, that they were ordered in 2021, and actually took quite a long time to get the full remit delivered. But we're glad to say we now have them. Inflation is stabilising. However, escalating costs have been exacerbated by a drop in recycling income. We're going to capture this and cover this more in the financial update. One of the big projects that we delivered in this year is the project that we took to tackle contamination. We put the project in place to really look at improving our income, because the quality of our recyclate determines the cost of it, basically, whether it be an income or a cost to the authority. We had a team of door knockers engaging with residents, literally walking around areas, targeted areas, knocking on doors and discussing with residents how they should deal with their recyclate. We stickered, we gave out information packs, and as a result of that, we have seen some reductions in contamination. It's something that we might need to do again this coming year, but we're monitoring it exceptionally closely. We rolled out the recycling bins in some pilot parks. However, following a high level of contamination, we put the pilot on hold. Unfortunately, the level of contamination was such that the recycler had to be dealt with as residual waste rather than recyclate. It would have contaminated the recyclate load too much. We promote biodiversity, and we have rolled out more sustainable planting on a phased basis. As you will be aware, the costs in the first year are higher, but over a period of time, the maintenance costs do reduce. Working with the communities and going into schools is something that we're very keen on and something that we focus on. We events such as we attended the youth COP28 in Buxton before Christmas, and we also go out and speak to schools and community groups, Probus, WI, and that sort of thing. We also promote the Pick Fit scheme, which is where people are volunteering to go and litter pick in their area. And at the moment, we've had well over, I think about 280 volunteers in total. So the scheme's been a great success. You asked about learning and development with on the other presentation. AES invest in our employers. We have a grow your own program. So we would take, for example, a loader who doesn't have an HGV license, and if they wanted to be promoted and wanted to become a HGV driver, if they show the right sort of level of interest and are prepared to commit to the company, we will invest in them. We will support them in getting that qualification, giving them the training, and also giving them the opportunity to practice. And we'll put them on around with additional support to get them to be able to pass that test. So to allow them then to become an HGV driver. Obviously, this has really helped with recruitment difficulties, and also for the individuals, it's a pay rise, and it's an opportunity to pursue promotion and to see a way within the company that they can be promoted. We also look at any of our staff who'd like to go into a leadership role. So in the first instance, that would be team leaders. And again, whether you're admin, whether you're a loader, whether you're a HGV driver, a grass cutting person in our grounds maintenance areas, we'll support you and put you through a very specific training course to enable you to get external qualifications that you can then use to when posts become available, you can then apply for those posts, and we try to absolutely recruit from within. We've attracted a new arrangement in supporting high peak bereavement services, and we're doing that in a partnership with Orbitas. Orbitas is one of the other JV companies of Cheshire East, and we're working with them. That commenced successfully in August. We're also supporting the client's efficiency programme in any way we can. We've held a number of workshops to see the best way forward, but we'll tackle that and talk about a little bit more about that in the finance update. I'm going to move now on to our KPIs, and Martin is going to update you on those.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So these are the contractual KPIs for the financial year 22-23. Ms. Billins, whilst they were slightly over target, what we've got to sort of remember is that we collect over nearly 3.5 million bins a year, and 36 missed bins per, or 37.35 missed bins per 100,000, actually results in a 99.96 successful collection regime, which I think is extremely good. Regards to annual complaints, in that financial year we only received 5 justifiable complaints, which is way below target of the 16. Domestic containers that were delivered within 10 working days, unfortunately that was missed by quite a substantial margin. We had a very, very tough summer in summer 22, where perfect storm of a number of vehicle breakdowns with regards to the lack of parts that were coming out of some of the conflicts and some of the issues that came out from COVID, high staff sickness, and as Jane alluded to in the previous slide around HGV recruitment, and that's one of the drivers for now trying to recruit our own drivers and develop our own staff to give that much more consistency across the board. Recycling, whilst it was below target, it was actually 0.7% higher than the previous year, and that was really down to quite a substantial reduction in our organic tonnages, which, if we can record 2022 was quite a dry year, which affected the grass cutting and targets during that summer. And on vehicle availability, we're way above target there, and that's for vehicles that we provide to the local authority. So that's really, really good. So that's sort of pest control vehicles and alike. So that's a really good return from our workshops who we manage internally. Moving on to street cleansing in grounds and parks. All of our KPIs from street cleansing were met. Target response times were way in excess of where we needed to be, and that was despite an increase in fly tip in that particular year. Jane alluded to PickFit earlier. On top of PickFit, we've also supported over 252 cleanup campaigns, that's sort of litter picking within communities, which I know a lot of the councillors are very keen on and take part themselves. And on the final one there, 100% success rate on our playground inspection. So we inspect all our playgrounds on a inspection frequency, some are weekly, some are fortnightly, and then we also do more in-depth inspections on a monthly and quarterly basis. And now they were all completed on time. So moving on to finance.
Thanks, Martin.
It comes on. Oh, it's not. Oh, there we go. Sorry.
Thank you. The 22-23 outturn position reflects a further challenging yet successful year. It included, as we mentioned before, escalating cost due to inflation, namely pay and fuel, and also a drop in recycling compared to 21-22. In year, AES incurred 0.7 million of additional spend due to that increased pay award, plus a further 0.3 million on fuel. 140 million was rebated back to High Peak, and this was the handback of the gully maintenance contract with Derbyshire County Council. The company also claimed for additional pressures of 0.1 million against other inflationary increases. However, these were offset by a significant 0.6 million management fee rebate for the reduced recycling costs. In addition, AES achieved the 22-23 savings target of 50 and rebated back to the councils as planned at the year end. The outturn profit after accounting for the claims and rebates was £58,000, and cumulative reserves as at the 31st of March 2023 was £542,000. We can move on to the next slide. This slide gives you an overview of the savings achieved to date. We've delivered £580,000 in recurring savings to date, and additional one-off risk plan reductions and additional efficiencies totaling £1.956 million. Combined with the council savings across employee and management and vehicle procurement of £558,000 to date, collectively, AES and the councils have delivered 1.138 million of recurring savings. The table at the bottom shows the breakdown of the recurring savings split between both the company AS and the council savings. The significant rebate in 22-23 from the recycling market improvement, the £6 million rebate, and the change of contract from the 1st of April 2023 will see some significant changes as the cost of recycling has increased. We're working with the commissioning team at the council very closely, looking forward, and savings targets and significant inflationary costs, and some recycling decline in income is going to see a very, very challenging time. However, we were working with the commissioners very closely to work out a planned programme of further efficiency savings. Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just trying to switch the mic back on. Believe it or not, Jen, there's a delay on it. That concludes the kind of loop back into the previous year, and hopefully you can see from the slides that both Jane and Martin ran through that although it's extremely challenging and the outlook's challenging, we've still returned really good performance both operationally and financially, and it's quite interesting to see that we're now actually in our 7th year of trading since we set up back in July 2000 and well, it was August, I think, the 1st 2017. So really good track record being developed. Very good returns to date, but some challenging periods ahead. Now, what this next slide and the next part of it is all about is talking about the future and where we are and what's out there. Now, on this slide, it contains quite a lot of information, some of which we will be talking about as we go on. So, you know, reading from the top down, the waste reforms, including simpler recycling. The government's been changing its legislation associated with Environment Act and looking at how it can get better systems in place that are coming across the land. Jane will explain in more detail where we are, but it's been ongoing for a few years and we expected having clearer guidance sooner than this. But what you will see over the next few years is quite a bit of change linked to that all the way to and beyond 2028 and 29. Now, it was interesting to hear the comments being made with the leisure and what's going through. And as we look ahead, you will find that there's an opportunity for AES to do more commercial works because all businesses, starting with larger ones from 2025 and then smaller businesses coming on board in 2027, I believe, they'll be obliged to recycle in a similar way to what households have to do. So they will be obliged through this legislation to make sure that they are separating out the residual waste or the recyclates from the residual waste, processing that differently. So that in itself brings great opportunities. But on top of that, we know there's a lot of change with our domestic collections, such as the food collections that will start as well from 2026. So there's lots of things happening around the waste collection. Clearly, we're looking at other services that we can develop as well, and we see real opportunities. Jen mentioned the bereavement works that we've moved into, and we've started building on that, and we see there's potential opportunities there as well, and that we're looking forward to working more closely with doing maintenance for the leisure and sports pitches, which we expect over the course of 24-25 as well. And I think tied in with all that, it goes without saying our commitment to sustainability and reducing our carbon footprint. And what we see is that that'll be in two parts. There'll be an awful lot of effort to try and reduce that down, but I think it will also come from our procurement plans and strategies when we're hitting vehicle replacement and running through. So hopefully, if you have the time to look and digest through that slide, you can see there's a terrific amount of work in the pipeline all about how we can improve, deliver further efficiencies, and also work on the sustainability side of the services that we deliver as well. Next slide, please, Martin. And that's, I'll hand back to Jane now to talk us through the simpler recycling before Martin wraps up on the depots.
Thanks, Kevin. I think Kevin's stolen my thunder really on simpler recycling. But effectively, simpler recycling is the approach to applying the outcomes of the resources and waste strategy, and it's how local authorities are guided to deal with household and business waste moving forward. I think Kevin's already referred to some significant dates, but just before that, I think it's important to note that now we have a definitive guide on what recyclate waste streams that we must collect. So in that first bullet point, they are the waste streams that we have to collect. We also have got guidance that suggests that fortnightly residual waste collections are the minimum number of waste collections that are expected. They actually really want, the government appears, or DEFRA appears to want weekly collections, but they are suggesting that fortnightly is the minimum that they would, that a local authority can deliver. The first date here of March 2025 refers to what Kevin said about that commercial opportunity. So, and the next point as well, where businesses that employ over 10 properties will be obliged to recycle the same waste streams as households. So that's where, as a company, we see particular opportunities, and that's what we're working towards at the moment, to ensure that we have the capacity and the ability to target those sorts of businesses going forward. The next significant date is the end of March 2026, and that's when this statutory separate weekly food waste collection for all households has to be implemented. And that's the biggie, really. That's the biggie. In mid-January, DEFRA provided all local authorities with further detail on sort of indicative transitional capital, the delivery of those food waste collections, and the funding, the government grant is intended for purchasing of things like caddies and bins and collection vehicles. It's really important that we work very, very closely with the council as part of our project team that's already been set up to fully understand what that model of collection methodology will be and how we're going to implement it. And that's something that we're working, as I say, we've had that kick-off meeting, the project team is put together, and we have already identified the milestones. We've just got some more work in understanding what sort of methodologies are going to be the most beneficial options that we can then put forward for comment and approval. So yeah, a very, very busy time, a hugely logistical task for the business, and challenging, but also some great opportunities as well that's come out of simpler recycling. If we move on to the next slide, we'll then look at another challenging but great opportunity with the depot.
Thanks, Jane. So a combined report was issued at the end of 2023, which was commissioned through Derbyshire County Council, and it was looking at all local authority buildings and land, and some of the issues that we've got, certainly for ourselves in High Peak, are that the two depots that we have in Buxton, Silverlands Depot, which is behind the football ground by the police station, is extremely small, and it's already too small for requirements. The other depot on the Waterswallows estate is only leased, so the council don't own that depot, and we operate out of two separate sites in Glossop. One is the main one in Surrey Street, which is where the waste collection street cleansing team is based on, and then we also run out of the main Memorial Park as well. What we're looking at with the commissioning team and the council's assets teams is looking at the options that we have between ourselves, of looking at whether there's a move to consolidate all those depots into a new site, either where we currently are at Waterswallows, which is one of the primary locations because it's near the transfer station, or whether or not there's other land that the council own that we could look to develop a new site. There's options there around the consolidation of our operations at Waterswallows, if we can buy land near us, or develop or work with DCC with regards to looking at developing any land with them, and also potentially looking at what we would call a super depot, which would home both DCC and High People Council and AES. Why do we need to fix that? Going forward, James just mentioned weekly food waste collections. At this moment in time, the depot space that we currently have, we could not accommodate any more vehicles or any more staff to operate that weekly food waste service. So time's really pushing on. We've got 2 years to look at that, and it might be that we have to find alternative locations in the meantime whilst something else has been done behind the scenes. The positives would be that we'd have an improved location, training, welfare. We have an issue with fleet washing the fleet at Buxton. We can't use Waterfall Depot for washing the vehicles. We have to use a third party. We'd be able to build a slightly bigger workshop, which we then could be more commercially active. We're already in the process of exiting the old Market Street depot, and we're using a temporary site with our colleagues at Answer and Macclesfield for the time being, whilst we're looking for alternative locations. And without a doubt, for those from the Glossop end of the district, will understand that the closure of the Melandra transfer station has had massive impacts on the operation at High Peak. It's putting existing pressure on the vehicles. The vehicles are doing a lot more mileage, and some of that mileage is quite difficult over difficult terrain, and we are seeing that starting to have a wear and tear on the vehicle. So it's quite critical that over the next sort of 6 to 18 months we actually do look at and provide a solution to the depot. And that's the end of our presentation.
Okay, thanks. That's very thorough. Do we have any questions? Going to see if there's a committee member first. Okay, Chris.
Just a couple. First of all, thanks, very informative. I've got 2 questions. Number one is, do you get out to the parish and town councils to share the story of what's going on? Because I know that they speak to residents a fair bit. And then the second question was just something I heard in the pub last summer, which someone said that you were struggling to get seasonal staff for the parks. I'm not sure whether that was true or not, but if it was, have you got a plan for this year?
If I take the first part of your question, Councillor, no, we don't actually get out to towns and parishes. Now, that's not saying that our employees don't engage with towns and parishes. They will do throughout the course of the year with their operational activities. But this presentation specifically done for yourselves as a scrutiny committee, effectively.
No, I understood that. It was a bit more of a sort of wider question that earlier in the presentation you were talking about encouraging people to recycle properly. It was more along that messaging avenue than this messaging avenue.
Yeah, we do lots of engagement within communities with the recycling message, and you know, I'd be guided by yourselves. If you think this information that we're producing is useful, we could take that back and consider if there's a newsletter we could put out to towns and parishes or something along those lines that just gives some headlines. But it just needs some thought if you think that would be useful for those. But very much so, we do engage with them through our comms team, and you picked up on what Jane was saying about the engagement with schools and other members of the community as well. So very much getting the message out about reduce your waste, recycle, etc. And we think that's very positive, even down to the physical work that was being done on door knocking, for example, areas that we felt it necessary. But we're always open to new ideas and any suggestions you think that would help improve that.
I only ask because I think some of the rural areas will struggle with the food waste piece. I mean, they'll struggle in the urban areas, but I think they'll struggle there particularly.
No, I appreciate that.
Sorry, if I may just sort of put in, I just think as part of the project, the programme, I think we'll have to look at comms and how how we target certain areas, because I think you're absolutely right, Councillor. Some of the areas are going to struggle, and we're going to struggle to put in some solutions, but we'll have to. But we'll have to work with people, and yeah, it'll be part. We'll have some sort of a communication campaign, obviously in conjunction with the commissioning team, on and getting the message out there.
And then on the second bit about recruitment of summer staff.
So if I can pick that up with yourself, Councillor. Yes, historically, going for a number of years, seasonal recruitment has always been challenging. We have over the last 3 years reduced our requirement for seasonal staff by about 20% by creating full-time roles. And actually this year in Buxton, we're recruiting 2 less seasonals due to 2 more members of staff being taken on full-time over the winter period. So in the High Peak, I think we're down to, I think it's 5, maybe 6 seasonals across the whole of High Peak now, where before, when I joined the authority just short of 8 years ago, the seasonal recruitment was significantly higher. The last 2 significant pay rises that have come through through the local government side have significantly helped. So our pay rates are now better than some of our sort of grounds maintenance competitors. So that has really helped, and we are seeing that. And also this year we put in place our first apprentice, which is something we've loved to do. So we have an apprentice in Pavilion Gardens who's doing really well, a local lad, and he's doing really well. So that's that again, that's creating more work for the location. We want to carry on with that as well.
Thank you.
That's great, thank you. Councillor Collins.
Yes, I would endorse what Chris has said about parish and town councils, but also at the moment food waste is collected with green waste. I can't remember that there was anything about the green waste as sort of garden type waste in the presentation. So would that be still collected with food waste?
Well, that's to be determined, Councillor. I mean, we have got to collect it separately. It's how separately do we collect it with the same sort, with a different sort of receptacle on the side of the vehicle, or do we do something completely different with smaller vehicles running around the borough? You know, there's different options that, as I say, the project team will consider, and then obviously the commissioning team will bring to, you know, the appropriate committees for discussion, but they all need considering.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, I think that seems to be it. You seem to have been, oh no, Councillor Todd.
Yeah, sorry, it's not a question. I was just going to thank people for the presentation. I think it was very informative for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, I think it was very informative and very thorough. We'll be getting.
Due course, it's still at an early stage, but as Martin outlined, it's really important to the authority when we look ahead to the future and with all the changes that are planned in waste collection.
Thank you. Okay, we now move on to the Alliance North, the Disabled Facilities Grants presentation. Okay, Mark, are you going to take us away with this? Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Just briefly, members of the committee prior to May will recall we had several reports dealing with the Disabled Facilities Grant Service, which the council is responsible for. Now, disabled facility grants are those grants we receive directly from central government via the Better Care Fund administered by the county council, and they're grants that are used towards adaptations to residents' homes to ensure that residents are able to remain within their homes or to return to their homes where, for instance, they've been hospitalised and have reduced mobility and difficulties in accessing movement around the home. So that's the sort of services we're talking about. And in conjunction with Staffordshire Moorlands, with our alliance partner, we had the opportunity to review the most effective way of managing that service in the council. And after an options appraisal, we were able to identify the preferred option to give more council control over the services we provide, to deliver them through Alliance Norse and through Norse's trading company Enable, which is a specialist DFG provider service that we were able to access through our existing arrangements through Norse, through Alliance Norse. So Tony Taylor is here this evening. It's the first time that you'll have received this sort of report. He's operations director at Alliance Norse. This is part of the governance to ensure that all members are kept informed and have the opportunity to scrutinise and consider the performance of Alliance Norse in terms of their work for and on behalf of the council. And the presentation tonight obviously deals specifically with the performance of Alliance Norse in respect to disabled facilities grants since they took over the responsibility for the service on the 1st of April last year. So with that, Chair, I'll pass over to Tony, and I think you have all received the presentation in advance of his presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Tony.
Yeah, good evening, Select Committee, the members of the Council. Thank you for that, Mark, an introduction. Yeah, my name's Tony Taylor, and I'm the Operations Director for Alliance Norse. So my remit is Alliance Norse, and as Mark has just alluded to, we are the commissioning element of the service, the DFG service. So that commenced on the 3rd of April 2023, and so the launch of that, we've since that time obviously been recruiting to get a fully experienced team with occupational therapists and caseworkers. Those are principally in place, although we have had some challenges in getting some recruitment and thinking about that strategy. So obviously what we've been doing since we've transferred is obviously catching up with backlogs and raising awareness of the availability of grants, and I've been guiding the clients through the processes of how they can access the funding for DFG. So our OT and caseworkers are the front line of client interaction, and they provide the smooth customer services and build up relationships with those caseworkers. The service seeks to achieve cost savings to the councils by helping people continue to live in their own homes, as Mark's already said, rather than them moving into local authority care. And so that's done by us making adaptations. And some of those things, not limited to, but level access showers and wet rooms, stair lifts, straight curb bespoke, ramps, through floor lifts, wash dry toilets, kitchen adaptations, etc. So, adjustable kitchens that people can access if they were in a wheelchair, for instance. And obviously, Enable deliver several of these services in-house, so we look to try and do that as much as we can. And then obviously complement that with a network of specialist subcontractors for installations such as the through floor lifts and extensions, where they're a lot more specialist. So moving the DFG activities into Alliance Norse provided a few benefits. So greater cost efficiency driven by higher productivity and increased purchasing power and economies of scale. That's largely achieved because obviously Enable deliver these services across the nation. They've got several arrangements with other authorities, and they've got a good buying power. Improved service delivery using the experience and expertise of the Enable team. So they've got the experience from years of being in this environment, and then a close working relationship with councils and their team. So we do a lot of cross work with the OTs at DCC and others in the council, Mike Towers and so on, and we've built some strong relationships there. Then of course you've got the greater control services that are being delivered through the Alliance Norse board, and with the arrangement we've got a reduced dependence on the subcontractors. So if you want to move on to the next slide, please. So this one's just a basic overview of our structure. So obviously there's myself at the top. On the Enable side, we've got Richard Cole, who's the head of service. Richard's not dedicated to the Alliance. He's time split across all of the country's Enable services. So locally, we've got Claire Shrimpton, who's the account manager. James Bergin was the DFG engineer, the senior DFG engineer, and then we've got the two operatives who look after the direct installations on site. And then obviously we have subcontractors that come in as well. We've got a shared admin post in Eleanor Rose, who's just joined the team after a recruitment process. And then we've got Lucy Brooks, who's the senior occupational therapist, and she's got 4 caseworkers who work for her. Now, we did have another post in there for another occupational therapist. We've been unable to fill that despite offering some attractive rates against that, more competitive than anything in the marketplace. So we put forward a proposal to get an occupational therapist assistant, which will be able to assist with the volume of case referrals that we're getting through. And that will still need to be signed off by Lucy as a senior person, but it will give us some more capacity to handle the cases. I want to move on to the next slide. So to give the basic context, enable a commission by Alliance North. So that part of the structure under Lucy, that's where the referrals come into. They're processed through, and then once that's become a package that for delivery to the client, that's passed across to the enable side, and then they deliver it in-house. They look to try and, like I say, accommodate that majority from in-house, but they do some subcontracting as well to do some of that. And obviously, we look to do additional works through the Alliance and doing some additional works with other departments in North to try and contain those costs. We do quite a bit of work with central procurement as well to attract greater discounts throughout the contract, particularly around equipment and materials. We get favourable rates, particularly on things like stair lifts and the wash-dry toilets, are particularly favourable because of the buying power. The transfer of the DFG adaptation services have enabled us to set up an enable hub at Harper Hill. So we've got a showroom there that can demonstrate fully the through floor lift. There's a full one fitted there, a stair lift. They've got the toilets, ceiling track hoist, and everything else. So clients can actually come along and actually experience firsthand any types of aids and adaptations that we're offering, and can be put into their homes. And actually, we can see if it's fit for their purpose and see if it actually suits them. So it's a real positive opportunity for the people to have a look at those types of aids and adaptations that may make their lives easier. And the Spark network of engineers ensure stability in service. So there are our engineers, they maintain a relationship throughout, and that continues to build. And obviously it allows us to get more into the product development area as well, because it's our dedicated team that's local to us. The next slide. So in terms of where we've got to, so this is our first 3 quarters. So this is the first, obviously, year of trading. So effectively, we've had 128 cases in total, of which 71 cases have been completed. You'll note we've had 4 refused. Reasons are there. So adaptation has not been reasonable and necessary after consideration. We've had 2 that have turned it down on the fact that the means test was too high, and then one of the other cases they relocated to another council area, so they moved out of the region. In terms of the pending cases, 23, we've held it at that at the present time because High Peak Borough Council doesn't have as much budget as some of the other areas, so we've fully expended the allocation for this year. Now what we've done is we've made an application for another 600,000, which has now been approved. So that will free up, and we will now start on with the 23 cases that we've got pending, and obviously we'll try and encourage more cases to come on now. We've got the additional budget to do that. The senior DFG engineer is carrying out post inspections of works to ensure that the customer satisfaction, we're getting full sign off on those, and obviously we carry out a satisfaction survey with them as well to make sure that they're happy with the services that are being delivered. Mike Towers is coming to auditors on the 5th of February now. That's been agreed. He's going to come and have a look to ensure that the processes that we've got in place are actually meeting the criteria for the DFG process and what we need to complete for that. We've had compliments, we've had 10 compliments spread between the Enable and the Stairlift team, and FDL are one of our subcontractors. So all in all, we've spent £116,778 in terms of the approved cases. We've got open 350 of that, the closed 566. So that's where we're on those. Next slide. So this is the KPI. So these are the aims of what we're trying to achieve, and this is where we're after quarter 3. So obviously, contact the client within 1 working day. We're at 85%, and that's a key focus for us to improve upon. In terms of client initial OT visit within 10 working days, we're at 100%, and we're meeting every client within 10 working days, which is in line with what the targets were. In casework to complete the paperwork 5 working days after OT visit, that's at 100% as well. So all the cases are being processed in a timely manner. So major works to begin within 3 weeks of full DFG approval. So we've that's for 15 days, and that's working days, and that's 100% at the present time as well. And sign-off works within 5 days of completion. That's also at 5 working days, and we're 100% on there. So snagging to be completed. We've had 1 or 2 where that we've not done so well, but that's in 5 days of the works identifying them. But we're at 82% on the performance on that. Another area for us to focus on improving. Next slide, please. So in terms of the future, obviously HPC, IP Borough Council, DFG was over-delivered against budget allocation within the first 3 quarters of the year. So additional funding has now been agreed by the council. And like I said, that will allow us to be able to tackle those cases in the next 3 months. Lucy's ensuring that initial OT assessments are completed. Caseworkers are accompanying the OT to client assessments to ensure seamless service and to reduce further delays. Enable have obviously now got a full team complement, head of service in place, 2 stairlift plumbers and a senior DFG engineer and account managers to deliver. Focus remains to complete as much work in-house as possible. DFG and Enable unit is fully functional and hosting DCC OT meetings. So every month the DCC OT meetings are held now at Alliance North, and we host that, and it builds that relationship with the OTs in the area as well. All equipment is fully operational, including the through-floor lift for client demonstrations, as mentioned before. And then another interesting point is that we're carrying about £100,000 worth of stock in units, so that allows us to be quickly deploy, especially things like stair lifts and overhead ice wash dry toilets, because we have them in stock. So when referrals come through, we can make a difference very quickly without clients having to wait any great length of time. And then the marketing element of the DFG service would like to start in 2024. It was a target we wanted to do in 23, but given the volumes of backlogs in both council areas, to be fair, we've held that in abeyance. One of the things that's allowed us to do is obviously dedicate that the £50,000 that was earmarked to do some marketing works has been put back into delivering services directly instead, so that's benefited the client referrals. In terms of the next slides, I won't go into the details, but I wanted to include them there because obviously you can read them at your leisure. But we will be obviously looking to populate the annual ones, and that's why there's no comments in there. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what KPIs were being factored in and what the 2 teams were working to in terms of what the council's expectations and where their audience was to account on those. So for me, that's the end of the presentation. If there's any questions.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Just for a moment. Thank you, Tony. And I believe straight away we've got a question from Councillor Hall.
Thanks very much. It's actually on one of your nearly last points, one about marketing. Have you got any indication of how much unmet demand there is out there? Any feel for it?
No. we do not know the scale of potential clients that are out there. What we've got to do is try and manage the expectations around the allocation of budgets, because obviously we have overexpended the IP Borough funding budget for this year, and obviously we've applied for more, which Mike's kindly handled and managed, and that has been now approved and will be credited with. But you're absolutely right, we need to try and gauge in 2024 what potential other referrals could be out there that people don't even know that this exists.
No, exactly. No, that's absolutely answered the point.
Unless they're within a care environment or somebody's assessing them from DC, in terms of an occupational therapist or a professional health care worker, I don't think they'd be aware potentially that there's access available to these.
Yes, so it's a gradual awareness raising rather than a sort of massive marketing thing. The other one's a bit of a curveball, because I mean, I think what you're doing from this presentation is truly admirable. But you're less than a year into the contract, and what it just sparked in me is the notion of what you're saying about economies of scale, basically, and being able to be have additional buying power and the concentration of expertise. What we've got is an increased focus on accessibility when retail units, pubs, restaurants refurbished or reconfigured. In future, do you think there's and so that we can accelerate accessibility across our general, not just individual domestic properties, but more open access properties?
So in terms of Enable, they're able to trade with anybody. They could deliver the service to them and invoice them directly for any works. In terms of the DFG, obviously it wouldn't apply to that scenario. But obviously, yes, we would look to grow. As you rightly point out, we're finding our feet. We're looking forward to our first audit. We want to see where we've got our gaps and where we need to own some of our service delivery, because it's been a challenging year for us. But I think we're very proud of the numbers of cases that we've taken on and how quickly we've delivered those, and that we've fully expended the budget, which I believe in previous years. And I haven't got the date to that's not been shared with me, but I understand that delivering the DFG grant funding has been challenging in the past, and I think we've done a very good job at actually getting in front of that, but there's work to be done.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, I'm convinced.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark. You appeared. I thought you were going to make a comment.
Well, I did, but I think Tony sort of answered it. He said he wasn't aware of the previous budget. That is one of the issues that we've had in terms of spending our allocation, which clearly hasn't been an issue over the last 12 months, although we do have some reserves which have been used to apply towards the extra cases that Tony's referred to. But it clearly is making good progress.
Excellent. Paige, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I've just got one question in terms of helping people apply for the grant. In my experience, some grant processes, when you apply for it, they're sort of designed to put people off applying, and this seems to be a bit more user friendly. Are you finding that some people are a bit wary about applying?
No.
Experience?
No. In terms of it's actually it's totally supported. So in effect, they don't actually have to apply for anything. We receive a referral in, and then obviously we go to a site. So the occupational therapist actually goes to that client's home, carries out a full assessment of their needs, and they complete all of the paperwork in support. So effectively, they lead on that application and they complete the paperwork for that application. They seek the funding, they seek the approvals from the councils, from the any other OTs that might need to be involved. So that it's a fully supported process from end to end. The only thing that we ask the client to do is sign off on an acceptance sheet of what that looks like in terms of this is what your contribution would be if it was means tested and they were going to contribute, and this is what the grant funding value you're going to get, and these are the works that we're going to undertake for you. So it's a very fully supported experience for a client. So it's not a case of they've got to do the forms themselves.
Yeah, it seems more positive. Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, we want people to access this funding. It's there, and it's there to support the clients and the tenants and the homeowners. And it's like I said, the ultimate aim is that we can give them a better life experience in their own homes rather than being put into a care environment, which obviously costs more money, but actually from a sort of their own physical and mental well-being, being in their own home is the best place for them.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's just I was wondering whether you were facing issues with people coming forward based on their previous experience of applying for help. Whether
no, everybody's absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's really engaged. Everybody's been really positive in terms of the client.
Okay, thanks, Paige. Any more questions? No, it looks like you've been very thorough. So doubtless you will come back and share with us in the future. So thank you very much.
We will do. We will do. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you
very much. Okay, Mark, any comments or?
Nope. Great. Thanks very much, Emma. That is the first of at least an annual update that the committee will receive on the work of Alliance North around the DFG. So, thank you.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. Right. Okay. Moving on swiftly because Liverpool are playing. I'm 1-0 up. Right. So. Oh, shut up. Right. There are no questions. Shut up. Right. Shut up me as well. So questions referred to the executive member. I don't believe that we have any. So can we go to the work programme, please? So you'll have to flick back through your pack. Sorry about that. The next meeting is scheduled to be on the 13th of March. At the last meeting, we had a presentation from the police about Clearhold Build, and we did say that we would invite them back in February to give an update on how that was going. And now, if you look at the 13th of March meeting, we've got voluntary sector monitoring, the CVS annual report, but that's the only item. So what I'm proposing is that we invite the police back for that meeting. Any comments or issues with that from anybody? No. Okay. And also, I spoke to Anthony earlier, and we did think that the council will be in a position to either produce the report or give an update on the council's response to the Clearhold Build programme, and that should go quite well in terms of putting them together. Okay, and also, because I can, I'm going to just chuck into the part we have in the minutes. If you have a look at the minutes, we asked the Environment Agency for some information, a report, or them to come and tell us about river pollution. I'm hoping that we will put that into the work programme when they respond, which they have not. I also would like them to talk to us about flooding, which is probably going to be ever more relevant as we go forward. So that is two areas where we could actually engage with the Environment Agency. We also could do with the report on private sector housing and the Decent Homes programme. So those are just the things off the well, not off the top of my head because I wrote them down, but things that I think should go into the programme over the next so many months. Anyone else got any proposals for things that we need to look at? And here we go. Okay, Councillor Collins.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, actually, the Environment Agency, I'm sure everyone knows, they're incredibly stretched and dealing with the aftermath of floods. Doubtless they'll deal with more floods, with more storms, so I don't think we can hold our breaths on that. But I did think that it might be appropriate to have an update on the recycling, depending what Alliance, what AES feels, because it is something which people are constantly asking about. So not on how AES is doing, but on what they know is going to come down the line and what plans there are for that. I mean, it may be a bit too soon if it was, say, in 6 months, but
I think, yeah, I think it will be in the future, and I'm sure they will come and update us when we know what is happening and how it's happening.
Yeah, I just think it'd be good if they did know, if it wasn't just sort of waiting till a year's time.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Okay, so if we could note that down. Kath?
Yeah, could we have Peaks and Plains at some point to come and have a chat with us and explain some of their decisions regarding housing?
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Could you be more specific in terms of decisions, or?
Well, it's just that I've had one or two issues with their properties, and you know, I just want them to come and explain a bit better their processes and how they arrive at certain you know, certain decisions. So yeah, that's what I'd like to do. We've got quite a few properties in Chapel that belong to Peaks and Plains. I'm sure there's lots of others in the High Peak too.
Okay, so an update on their procedures, their rationale, their operations. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds reasonable. Okay, thank you. That's fine. Jean?
Sorry, I was just wondering about Norse's other responsibilities. Will they be reporting on those at some point?
Mark?
Chair, yeah, the responsibilities around repairs and HRA stock and general fund maintenance and facilities management, that they would be considered by Corporate Select. So there would be the similar process of annual update to that committee. Clearly, with this committee's responsibility for private sector housing, that's why the disabled facilities grant element comes specifically to here.
Okay.
I thought that they were supposed to have expertise in the retrofitting area as well, which they
yes, yeah, and I think that might be something the climate change working group will be looking at.
So we'll wait with bated breath for that. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. No. So. Sorry, I've just been talking, been muted. So can we resolve to exclude the press and public? And Rachel, if we could stop the recording, please.